a prime minister has to put everything through parliament, bar a very few powers that they still have, and one of them is in times of war,
Mm.
and international treaties. So there's some powers that they can do. So then roll forwards to the whole very toxic Brexit argument. I was on the Remain side, but I was very much so we remained at the top table, but we helped reform the EU for the challenges that are coming down the track. Because we could see since the financial crisis that there were economic, social, and defense issues around the world. That the tectonic plates had started to
Mm.
shift already.
Mm.
If you look, so I'm always very interested in what's going on in the world as well, and what's going on on our planet, and the way that stability of our worlds and the way the shifting of our worlds changes people's lives. And so roll forward to Brexit, and I thought, not only is it a terrible disaster, but how are you going to get this through Parliament? And I was very aware, so the mechanism for a member state to leave the EU, any member state can leave, is by triggering something called Article 50, which was actually written weirdly by British lawyers. And it says that any member state can leave the European Union along the lines of their constitutional requirements. So that gives that article a domestic element, because the constitutional requirements in the UK is that Parliament is the only person who can take away, only Parliament can take away our rights. A prime minister cannot take away our rights.
Sure.
So Parliament had to debate us leaving the EU. And that's not what the first case, Mrs. May, who was then Prime Minister, she was going to trigger Article 50 and start the process of us leaving without Parliament.
Oh.
And that would have done two things. One is because with leaving the EU, it meant our rights to work, live, travel, educate, everything would change overnight.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why they had to be debated in Parliament,
Sure.
because it triggered that effect on all of our rights.
Yeah.
So that was why it was so important it went through Parliament. But there was also a much bigger problem that people have never quite understood, and which I was totally laser focused on. And that is, because we do not have a written constitution, we have a constitution that's made up of lots of things. One of the things that makes up our constitution is called precedent, which means that if something happens once, it can happen again. So if a UK Prime Minister had managed to bypass Parliament and change our rights,
Mm.
any other future Prime Minister could do